I was thinking during the last session, I don't know how much I really need to say to start this session. I thought that was really a great overview. I will say I've been to several meetings out of state recently that lots of people are almost startled that we're focusing on marketable skills in Texas, and realize that you shouldn't be satisfied with that, that it's something that every student deserves. We all know, it was cited again, that 95% of our students, based on studies at UCLA, go to college to get a better job than they would otherwise. I don't think that's the only reason they go to school, and I hope it isn't. And we hear a lot about lifelong learning, and I have to say, we need to do something about that, because when I was in school, people said we needed to be lifelong learners. I was told that the jobs would change. I was told that some of the jobs wouldn't exist, and we were told about all the jobs that didn't exist before. So it's time that we actually do something about that. And I'm glad we are, and I'm glad with the enthusiasm. I can tell you, just since the plan was adopted and adapted, we've had 2 marketable skills conferences, and the first one, you could see everybody was still sort of grappling with it. The second conference, people were really obviously beginning to work together and think about how to approach some things a little differently than they had before. We're about to have a third conference in the spring, but this isn't an easy process. As was mentioned this morning, the skills don't stay the same, although one area that's been the same for a long time is the need for critical thinking skills, the ability to, I think of it not just as communications, but to work and play well together. I've learned as we've gone through this that part of it is even how do we teach our courses. I talked to some political science professors a couple of years ago. I just read maybe 200 ads in Indeed, and I kept noticing Excel kept popping up. And I was sort of surprised by that, because I took that as for granted. And I asked the political science professors, how many of you use Excel? And none of them did. I wasn't surprised by that, but several of them said, well, it would make sense actually in our class to do that, because there's some quantitative things we want to do, and it wouldn't teach them exactly how they might use it in some particular job later, but they would have the basics. It also reminded me that I personally hated group projects in class. Did all of you like group projects? I hated them, because there's always somebody who wouldn't pull their load, right? But that's part of the real world and work. And I have to acknowledge, when I was a faculty member, even though I hated them, we had group projects. And we had efforts where we reached out to people in the community, and we did projects for the community, and there were times where we had classes for students to teach them skills that we didn't teach in classes that they needed for the project we were doing with this other university or some business or school district, just on our own time. So we have to stay abreast of this, and I think there are a lot of people on campuses who do that naturally, but I think we're in the process of being more intentional about this, and I think that's a lot about what we're hearing now, is being intentional, really thinking it through. And so I'm really glad we're where we are, but this is not something where we're going to reach a point where it's done, right? It's going to be a constant work. We heard that this morning. Now, we've got 2 folks I'm really excited are here today, and I know I'm going to be learning a lot, but just to my left. So,
Diana.
Okay. This is Diane, not Diana. Hopes. I was confused when I just noticed that. She's the Dean of Academic Services at Collin College. In that role, she oversees the district-wide curriculum development process. That's daunting just thinking about that. Core curriculum assessment. I'm getting worried for you. And the quality enhancement plan. She spent more than 14 years of experience in program and curriculum design, assessment development, program evaluation, and faculty development. We also have with us Jeanette Herman, who's Assistant Dean for Academic Initiatives and Director of the Bridging Disciplines programs at UT Austin. I'm glad to say we had her at the board a couple of years ago to talk about her efforts, and we're continue to be impressed. The Bridging Disciplines program is a set of college bridging certificate programs for college undergraduates, and the Center for Skills and Experience flags, which coordinates part of the general education for all undergraduates at UT Austin. Now, I throw in a reference to one of my friends whose daughter graduated from UT Austin in art history a couple years ago, and she received, I don't know if it fit into this, but a certificate in some business skills. And she believes that when she got her job at the Houston Museum of Fine Arts, they clearly wanted somebody with an art history background, but it's that certificate that made a difference for her. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a different way of thinking. It's a little bit more similar to some of the things that community colleges do naturally. Let's not forget that. But I think it's important and sort of shows the evolution of what we're doing. She also works with the Office of Undergraduate Research and other initiatives on cross-college academic programming for undergraduates, so you're obviously busy as well. So, Dr. Herman, I'd like to start with you. You lead the Bridging Disciplines program I just mentioned at UT. Could you just start by describing the program to us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me here today. I'm excited to have the opportunity to talk with you all. Would you mind passing me the clicker? Thank you. So by way of framing, I'm going to give you a couple of facts which I think align with some of what Dr. Gara-Geyer talked about this morning. So today's 48-year-olds have changed jobs almost 12 times, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Experts predict that today's student will change jobs more often than today's employees. Experts predict that today's students will change careers more than once, and that today's students' last career has not yet been invented, which I think aligns with some of the statistics that we heard this morning. And so, thinking about this context, or this framing, the Bridging Disciplines programs really help to connect what students are doing in their academic work with possible career paths for the future in a way that helps them do that work of articulation that we heard about in the presentation this morning. So we have a set of 16 different college bridging certificate programs at the University of Texas at Austin that are designed to complement a range of undergraduate majors. So any degree-seeking undergraduate at UT Austin is eligible to apply for any of the Bridging Disciplines programs. So we have a lot of different combinations. And one of the things that my dean likes to talk about with parents at orientation is that their students typically come into UT with maybe 2 or 3 majors that are the kind of rise to the top, and everyone wants those couple of majors. But if you actually talk to them about this idea that your major doesn't have to align with your career path, if you combine a certificate with a major, there are thousands and thousands of potential combinations that students could choose from at the university. And so this program is designed to allow students to develop a secondary area of specialization without extending their time to degree. So students are able to integrate in a new way courses that they're already taking to satisfy core curriculum requirements, major requirements, elective requirements, in a way that gives them this interdisciplinary lens and aptitude, the ability to kind of think in this interdisciplinary way. Without extending their time to degree. They're using requirements they already have to take and putting them together in a new way so that they're developing this area of specialization. We call them BDPs. So a BDP certificate is 19 credit hours. So we talk about it as with students as more than a minor, slightly more than a minor, but less than a major. And students do, as part of this, a 1 credit hour, we call it a forum seminar, but it's kind of a guest speaker course that's designed to model interdisciplinary inquiry for students. They do interdisciplinary coursework that's drawn from existing course offerings across campus. So we're not creating, for the most part, we're not creating new courses. We are usually using the existing strengths of the university and pulling them together in new ways that students might not otherwise consider or know about. And then students do what we call connecting experiences. These are research, internship, or in some cases creative projects that students do for credit under the supervision of a faculty mentor. And so it gives students that experiential learning, that hands-on experience that allows them to really place what they're learning in the classroom in that hands-on context and work on transferring those skills. With every connecting experience, students do a reflection essay where they're doing that work of articulating and reflecting on what are the skills that they've gained from this, what have they learned from this experience. And then they do more of that reflection in an integration essay that they write at the end of their experience, where they are pulling together the various disciplinary perspectives, the various experiences and coursework that they've had in order to reflect on what they've learned, how that positions them as they're graduating for their goals, their professional goals. So BDPs give students a sophisticated interdisciplinary understanding of complex topics. And I'll come back to this, but we hear this from our alumni that this is valuable to them in their careers, and it positions them for advancement faster than they otherwise would have. It makes them stand out. It prepares students for a professional world that values innovation, flexibility, that kind of adaptability that comes with the ability to think across boundaries, and collaboration. So they're learning those kinds of teamwork skills as well. These programs, each one is overseen by a cross-college faculty committee. So they are faculty governed. And right now we have about 700 active students. In a month or so, it'll be closer to 800 as we go into the spring semester. We lose a bunch of students in the spring. So here's an example. This is Taylor McCaslin. He's one of our alumni. He actually serves on our alumni advisory committee. He, as part of his, when he was a student, he was a theater and dance major. And he discovered relatively early in his college career, but too late to do much about it in terms of his major choice, that he did not want to go into theater. And he was really interested in technology. So he was a student in our digital arts and media BDP certificate. And you can see some of the coursework that he took. So as a theater major, he would never have taken computer sciences courses, but he was able to take several. He took a radio, television, and film course. He was able to count a course from his major, theater and dance and projection design. And then he had an internship. His first internship was as a stage manager for a theater group here in Austin. And that was part of how he discovered that this isn't what he wants to do. Which is a really valuable thing to learn while you're still a student and before you take that first step into your career. And then for his next project, he created a digital information management system for a theater festival, and he presented it at a national interactive design conference. And that project is what helped him get into his first job.
I'm impressed. I was just mentioning my daughters graduated from liberal arts schools where they very strongly encourage them to participate in LinkedIn, and I'm realizing how they must be using it to keep up with their students' progress in their careers as well. And
they're taken any time in the undergraduate career. So students can apply, I think to answer your question, students can apply beginning second semester of freshman year up to 3 semesters before they graduate. And there is an admissions process, but we try to admit students as long as they are articulating goals that we think the program will provide for them. They can take courses that they've counted at any point in their UT career. And so we have some restrictions on how many courses they can count from any one discipline because we want them to get those multiple perspectives, and on how many they can count from their major. But aside from that, students have a lot of flexibility with those courses, and we're not creating a whole lot of new courses. I don't know how you want to. Do you want to hold questions for the end?
Yeah, let's one last question, but we need to make sure Diane has an opportunity here, and then we'll field lots of questions at the end.
And are transfer students eligible
Yes, they are.
Okay. Okay, Diane, would you like to tell us about your program at Collin College?
I will. One of the things that we're working on at Collin College is we're actually in the development phase of our marketable skills process, and I will share with you some of those important steps that we have taken to design our plan, and currently under the development, and some of the ideas that or some of the experiences that we have had during this process. So. I will start with just highlighting. Okay. So it is a very intense process that we have to undertake in order to make this a successful effort. And as you can see here, I will just highlight bits and pieces of this process because it is quite detailed. And but we knew that we had to implement the marketable skills as a goal of the 60 by 30 plan, and that our target date for implementation was fall of 2020. With this in mind, we felt it was important, how do we begin this process, and how do we start engaging all of our stakeholders, our faculty, our staff, our career centers, our administrators, our business partners. And so one of the things that we felt it was important was our faculty, because in the end, they are the ones really who will be overseeing the sustainable efforts of this process, because they're the ones who are students are in the classroom learning the skills, and faculty helping them connect those skills to the workplace is going to be key for the sustainability part of this process. So our faculty was very important for us. So we designed our plan in collaboration with our Curriculum Advisory Board, our CAB. And so they really were the ones who took the lead in helping us design the plan and come up with ways in which faculty, stakeholders, because they're also working with our business partners through our advisory committees, working with our career coaches in those advisory committees. So we felt it was important for them to really take the lead on this effort. And so we worked together to design a plan. The faculty took the lead in presenting the plan to other faculty, to our discipline leads, working with our discipline leads and working with other faculty who were basically the champions who were interested in supporting this effort. And we piloted ways in which the process could be designed and implemented. They worked out the tweaks. We had several workshops this past summer in which faculty worked together to think of ways of not only developing the technical skills, but also the soft skills. And so one of the things that we did is that we knew there were a lot of web resources out there for soft skills. But at our institution, we felt that it was important for our faculty, all of our faculty, to be engaged. So what we did is we went ahead and invited also our faculty from the Gen Ed curriculum to develop the soft skills for our programs. And so this, I believe, will strengthen the partnership between the workforce faculty and the Gen Ed faculty in terms of, because of the core competencies, they're tied to our core competencies in the assessment. And so we were able to intertwine those two efforts so that way they can support each other. And so the programs are built, the marketable skills for the programs pull from those soft skills that the faculty say they're teaching in critical thinking, in communications, in teamwork, in government, in English, and all those other Gen Ed courses in the curriculum. So we felt that was important for us. We also work collaboratively with our business partners and our career coaches to help us put that plan into place. We are currently engaging the business partners in what the faculty did is based on their teaching and the objectives, because as we understand, there are so many layered skills There's the core skills, the technical skills, the accreditation competencies. There are just so many skills that students have to learn within a certificate or a degree that the faculty had to work together to really bring those together into a meaningful way that they know that students can benefit, but then also, more importantly, not what they only think, but what also our partners think. So right now, currently, the faculty and the deans and the associate deans are presenting these skills to their industry partners during their advisory committees that are taking place this fall and getting feedback from them. They're also working with students, with former students and current students who are about to finish, to graduate, and see how collecting feedback from them. So the engagement has been very comprehensive in terms of the industry and also our former and current students. We have also, and through that process, they're really they're narrowing down the list of the skills that they want to focus in, not only from the core, from the soft skills, but also the technical skills. And so what we've done to really, for faculty and for everyone to feel that this is part of the institution, this is something that is valued, they will be presenting these skills to our curriculum advisory board. And they will get feedback from their peers, from faculty, in terms of how, if they have any questions or are they meaningful, and so on and so forth. So, and then there will be a process for sustaining those and ensuring that those are updated through the advisory committees and through the annual surveys they do with students. So just a brief overview of the process. Like I said, is very intricate and very detailed, but one of the things that I also wanted to highlight is we worked a little bit about thinking when we were designing the plan. We understood that there were so many different layers of skills, and so how would we had to think about an approach or a way that we would help faculty, administrators, staff, and our stakeholders to really conceptualize and understand the interconnectedness of this, and how would the process fit into what would the process be for the marketable skills with understanding this intricacy. And so what we did, we after we assessed our programs, our certificates, and our degrees, we knew that most of our certificates stack into our degrees. And so it was an easy way to just what we call an embedded approach. And so one of the things that faculty say, so if students are learning, if they complete certificate level 1, they will acquire this marketable skills. If they complete certificate level 2, they will acquire this additional. And if they complete the degree, they will acquire this entire set of skills by the time they're done. And so we thought that was important, and that's what we're working on, and how we're going to communicate that to students so that they can understand that as well. And so that was the embedded approach. Quite easy. As you can see here, I have an example of the paralegal program where students could complete the level 2 certificate, acquire some of those skills, some of the marketable skills, and then when they move on and complete the associate's degree, they in turn earn or learn additional skills, predominantly with some of those gen ed courses that are now part of the degree. And so that was one way. The other way, we knew we had programs that had enhanced certificates. They had 2 level 1 certificates with focuses that were complementary to the degree, but not necessarily to each other. And so the other approach that we're using is what we're calling linked marketable skills. And this is going to be important for faculty to really understand and internalize, because communicating this to students is going to be the key, is really helping students understand the interconnectedness and the linkages between the skills that they're learning and overall their experiences within the program. And we have, for example, 2 level 1 certificates that are part of one degree pathway, but they might be into different focuses. So they do complement the degree plan, but not necessarily stack with each other. And so then we have the enhanced skill certificate that it's an additional enrichment opportunities for students. And so really finding that way to develop the marketable skills where they're comprehensive enough and yet they complement each other at the same time. It was one of the, I think, the challenges that we had to grapple with as we were designing the plan and think of a way that we could make it meaningful not only for our faculty, but importantly when we start communicating that to students.
Well, one thing, and it may just be the way I'm hearing it, but I'm struck by both of you in terms of what you were just talking about, that they're both programs, though different, are really thinking, for lack of a better word, in an interdisciplinary sense. Mm-hmm. That you're seeing how things are linked, how things can work with each other. Am I hearing that correctly? And how do you work with faculty to make that happen?
Do you want to start or?
If you want to, then I can.
Okay.
Yeah. Since I just finished.
Is this on now? Okay.
Use the middle mic.
Okay. Use the middle mic.
The only one that seems to be.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the feedback.
Thank you. Oh yeah, I can hear that now. So yes, we work with faculty all across campus who enjoy the opportunity to come together. So we have faculty committees that oversee each of our certificates, and then a steering committee that oversees the umbrella program as a whole. And so I'll give you an example of one of our recent certificates that we put together. We kind of start by looking out to see, for patients, practitioners, and cultures of care, for example, who is out there in different departments that really should be represented, and who are the people who can represent those departments and those disciplines on a committee. And so that's a lot of my job, is reaching out to them, sort of helping them through the process of thinking about, what do you want students to learn? What are your objectives from this program? And then helping to facilitate that process, which can sometimes be difficult, of balancing the different investments that come from different parts of campus, and thinking in a coordinated way and collaborative way about how to build a program. And then we do that on an ongoing basis. So these committees that develop the program end up becoming the governing committees that oversee the curriculum on an ongoing basis, and that admit students and all of that kind of stuff. And so that's a big part of what we do, is we're pulling together things that already exist, but they're not talking to each other. We help them talk to each other.
And for us, as I mentioned earlier, I think one of the most important things for us was to ensure that all of our faculty were inclusive of the process. And initially, when the marketable skills plan or process was unveiled, immediately some of our faculty, well, that's a workforce initiative. That's something that students learn in the technical programs, and those are marketable skills. And really, there was not a very thorough understanding about the importance of the soft skills and how that complements. And so we felt that this was a great opportunity to integrate the soft skills, what the core faculty are doing, to really begin that collaboration with our workforce faculty and see the interconnectedness that indeed does exist between the two groups of faculty. So, like I mentioned, one of the things that was very important is, it's not from, I was doing some research out there, and here's a list of all the gen ed, of all the soft skills that our companies are looking for, and here's another great list, and here, but I thought, well, not me, I said we, because it was a collaborative effort. We thought that it was best to have our faculty generate that list, and this is how I teach critical thinking and teamwork in government, and this is how I teach this and that in math. And so I think coming from them, and then the faculty pulling, the workforce faculty pulling from those skills to see what fits in their program, and then really making that connection between the technical skills and the soft skills during the process of teaching and learning is going to be key. So we're very excited about seeing how this is going to actually turn out into the application and implementation phase of our program, which will be fall of 2020 when we go full implementation with our marketable skills process.
Okay. I think part of what we're hearing here is marketable skills are important, but the board has never believed that there's a model, a single model that has to work for everyone. So I think you've heard a couple of examples of how two different ways you can approach it. Some of you may want to share something you're doing as well, but the main thing we want is we have an intentional process. The students really be prepared when they leave, that the students provide some feedback to the schools, employers do, and I'm sure that in both cases, you have an update process. Some of your certificates probably won't be there in a few years, or they may be different. So do you have some questions you'd like to ask at this point?
It works if you talk very loudly.
So this question is for Collin College. Do you guys have plans to piggyback on
Do you hear him? Okay.
Piggyback on the Perkins 5 comprehensive local needs survey to push some of this marketable skills information out and collect more from business?
Yes, absolutely. That's something that I've actually been speaking with our Perkins grants manager about, because we see the interconnectedness. We actually have a Perkins leadership grant right now, and so in the advisory committee leading that effort is looking at really how to connect all the pieces, because we do feel that they complement those initiatives of the Perkins grant and some of our efforts through the leadership grant is to increase the knowledge and skills of faculty and advisors in terms of their basically understanding of workforce programs. That component right there, the marketable skills, is going to be, that's actually one of the things that now we are focusing on, and is really thinking about, because when we develop the plan, it's natural to start focusing in just the marketable skills and for each program, but it's important to also start thinking about the sustainable efforts, and we're now just starting to see all the areas the marketable skills are going to impact, from our public relations office, from our web design teams, from our e-learning center. There are so many different areas that we now have to branch out, and we're actually now looking and talking and seeing how we're going to, in the implementation phase of it, really bring all those key players into at the table and have a conversation about all those areas that the marketable skills will impact. So yes, absolutely, that's something that we've talked about through our advisory. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. This is for Dr. Herman. So you mentioned that there's no added hours to the majors. So can you explain how these courses work? They're not really a minor.
It's similar to a minor. So and at UT, it used to be that minors meant something different, but recently we've codified minors to mean something similar to this, but more sort of generally in the context of a single discipline. Whereas certificates, there are more certificates at UT than just the Bridging Disciplines programs. So certificates tend to be more interdisciplinary. But with our certificates, and this is different than a minor, students can double dip. So courses that they're also counting toward their 42-hour core, or toward their major, limited number of courses toward their major, or toward elective requirements for that 120-hour degree, they may also count by choosing them in a selective way toward a certificate. So that's what I mean when I say that we're allowing them to integrate what they already have to do in a way that allows them to gain this other credential.
That's great.
Thank you.
And so to follow up with that, are there advisors
advisors specifically appointed to the different certificates? How are students making these choices or being guided?
Great question. Yeah, we have a team of academic advisors who work with students, and they are assigned to specific certificates. It ends up being a really great job for advisors because they get to learn about what's happening all over campus as well as these specific certificates. And they're also helping students with that process of finding research experiences and internship experiences, which is also kind of connecting with the career preparation in interesting ways. And so it really uses that advisor position in a way that's distinct from what some of the departmental advisors do. Sorry, if you want to go first and then...
My question is to both institutions. What has been the role of the Career Services Office in developing these programs?
So my program is an academic program, and we certainly link with career services, but this program was designed as a way to really think about how what students are doing in the classroom already is preparing them for careers and enhancing that. And so a lot of what we do is we are looking around the university and saying, you know, students might be able to take a course from English or rhetoric that they might not even think about that is preparing them and giving them career skills, but they're not thinking about that because it sounds like a traditional discipline. Whereas if we put this in the context of environment and sustainability, and they're doing, or nonprofit, social entrepreneurship and nonprofits, then they can see how, oh yeah, this course on the literature of philanthropy, that makes me think in different ways, and I can put that to use, or on sort of writing for nonprofits, and I can put that to use and articulate how that's valuable in a different way. So we work with career services to help us identify internship opportunities and to help us kind of help with that process of having students learn how to articulate what they are gaining from their academic work. But we're primarily on the academic side.
For us, we're very fortunate to have career coaches who liaison between our career services and our academic affairs area. And so they are really the ones who facilitate that communication. They support and assist in the internship and in the internships and all those learning experiences outside the classroom. And so they are really the key players who help coordinate and bridge that those conversations from career services to the academic affairs area. And more importantly is that they they play an active role in their during the advisory committee, so they participate, and so they're a great resource, and they have been instrumental in helping faculty and the administrators and in liaisoning those resources that we have within the institution.
I'm going to try this one to see. Can y'all hear me?
How early are students made aware that there are advisors or career coaches? Is this working? Oh, yeah. How early are students made aware of this? Does it go back to the high school experience, like into the counselors in high schools? Did they advise the students that when you get to that level, there will be advisors or career coaches? How far back does it go for the student, or early does it go for the students?
I think this is great.
Again, we are also very fortunate at Collin College to have embedded counselors. And so these are Collin College staff that are strategically placed at the high schools, and they begin those conversations early on at the freshman level with high school students and exposing them early on to the various resources that we have, to the different pathways and opportunities available for them. So this model was piloted. It's now in its third year of implementation and has been extremely successful. we were just looking at the data because in part, it supports our QEP plan, which is academic advising. And so we were looking at preliminary findings and seeing some of those students who are coming in after they've received that kind of support at the junior and senior level, being more familiar with the resources that they have when they come to campus and not necessarily relying on just friends to find what is available, but really taking the lead and having that knowledge to access the resources from day one and get all the benefits from that. So that has been very, very helpful to have those in place. I don't know if you want to address that one.
Well, our program students cannot apply until they're on campus, but we do let admissions is very eager to know about our programs because they do talk with students in the high schools about the possibility of doing these programs. I will say that at UT there's just so much going on campus that getting the word out to students is one of the just ongoing challenges. So we still hear from students who are about to graduate that if they would have done this, if only they had known. But you know, that's just always one of the challenges where there's a lot going on.
Yeah, as you asked that, it occurred to me, I think most of you know that we have a tri-agency initiative with the Workforce Commission and the Texas Education Agency. And this may be an opportunity where we need to work together and get some advice from all of you, really, in terms of where could we work with TEA to make sure some of this information gets out to the schools before they actually reach your campuses, to get an early start. I don't know what that would be, but if you guys could think about that. If you have some thoughts off the top of your head now, that would be helpful. But otherwise, I think that's a good way to potentially follow up on your question.
That's a great idea.
Okay. Any other yes, sir?
Just from the other side of it, when I was listening to the program at UT, I almost thought that I could really say I was in a how to maximize student ROI in a liberal arts program when I saw the student that was in the theater program. What do you think about that? It sounds like you guys are formalizing the Alumni Connection, and I've always thought of that as an untapped resource, at least at our community college and many others. And how is that working? I see a lot of potential there. Mm-hmm. How is that working out for you? Where are you going with that at this point?
Yeah, so first I'll say one of the interesting things about Taylor's story in particular is that if you talk to him, he will say that his theater background is as much an asset as the technical skills that he learned, and that employers, when they look at him, they say, wow, you're just what we want, because that he has that ability to communicate and that intercultural kind of competence, and that is critical. So a lot of what we do is we help students see what they are starting at. You know, if they are unable to change majors, for example, and they discover they want to do something different, we help them understand that as part of sort of what makes them who they are as a candidate, as a professional. From the alumni perspective, we get a tremendous amount from our alumni. They are fantastic. We didn't do this for the first, this program started in 2002, so it took us a while to have the base of alumni and to sort of start really tapping into them. But they're fantastic. We have an alumni advisory group that meets twice a year, and they are enthusiastic and energetic. They're giving us new ideas. In the spring, we're going to have them look at the curriculum for 2 of our programs and really think from the workplace and from their experience being kind of going through their career paths, what are we missing, or what should we be telling students differently, or even just how do we communicate with students about the career opportunities that they don't know about yet. Exactly. And so that perspective is just invaluable. The other thing I'll mention, 2 more things. So one is the BDP 101 courses I mentioned, these 1 credit hour courses. We've had alumni come back as guest speakers for those courses, which has been fantastic. And they're always among the most popular speakers that students get to hear from. And then our alumni mentor program, we just started a couple of years ago, but it's a year-long pairing of an alum with a student, and we try to pair them based on interests and career paths. So it might not be a one-to-one, you're someone in this certificate and you're paired with someone in this certificate, but that also speaks to the interdisciplinarity of the career paths that our alumni find themselves in. So I think alumni are a wonderful resource. It takes some work and some just labor, which sometimes we don't have the capacity to really use as much as we would like. But once we're able to sort of do that work to get that started, it's very important, and it's been something that we've heard from students that it's really valuable.
Any other questions? So let me ask, if anyone out here is interested in talking to you and trying to get suggestions, are you open to providing some assistance to others?
Absolutely. And I think in your flash drives, there's a handout on the Bridging Disciplines programs, and my contact information is in there. I also have some cards if anyone wants it.
Yes, absolutely, as well. We'd be happy to support and assist as needed. So, yes.
Well, I really appreciate both of you being here today. I think this has been very informative. It also shows that it's not easy, it's hard work, but again, persistence is important, and you obviously listened to a lot of other people. That you didn't just start out with your own idea and that's all you did. And I think that's something we all have to remember, and collaboration is always important. And sometimes what we think is the right approach isn't later when you learn more. And so let's give the panel a hand. Thank you.